The wind howled like a wounded animal across the endless Wyoming prairie, carrying with it the bitter sting of winter's first breath. Marianne Caldwell, her threadbare shawl pulled tight against her trembling frame, stood frozen at the edge of a crumbling wagon trail, her 2 children clinging to her skirts. Little Emma, barely 6, sobbed quietly, her tiny hands red and chapped from the cold, while 8-year-old Thomas stared wide-eyed at the horizon, searching for a hope that had long since vanished. They were alone, utterly, desperately alone, cast out by the very family Marianne had trusted to protect them after her husband's death. The betrayal cut deeper than the icy wind, and as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of blood and gold, Marianne whispered a prayer, her voice cracking, "Lord, don't let us die out here." Just 3 months ago, life had held promise. Marianne and her husband, Jacob, had set out from Missouri with dreams of a new homestead in the West, a place to raise Emma and Thomas in peace and plenty. Jacob was a strong man, kind and steady, with hands that could build a cabin and a heart that carried his family through every hardship. But fever took him swiftly, a silent thief in the night, leaving Marianne a widow at 29, with 2 children and a wagon full of dreams turned to dust. They'd pressed on, joining Jacob's brother and his wife, hoping for support. Instead, the in-laws turned cruel. "You're a burden," her sister-in-law, Eliza, had spat, her eyes cold as stone. "No room for a useless widow and her brats." Last night, under cover of darkness, they'd abandoned Marianne and the children on this desolate trail, taking the wagon, the food, and every scrap of hope. The first challenge came fast: survival. The prairie was a merciless expanse, with no shelter, no water, and no food beyond the few crusts of bread Marianne had tucked into her apron. The children's hunger gnawed at her heart as fiercely as the cold bit their skin. Emma's whimpers grew weaker, and Thomas, trying to be brave, clutched a stick like a weapon, his small jaw set tight. "I'll protect us, Mama," he said, his voice trembling. Marianne's chest ached with love and fear. She couldn't fail them. She scavenged for roots and berries, but the land offered little, and by the second day, exhaustion weighed her down like a lead blanket. A distant howl of wolves, she thought, sent a shiver through her. She gathered the children close, shielding them with her body, whispering stories of Jacob's courage to keep their spirits alive. The second challenge was despair. As days blurred into nights, Marianne's hope flickered. Her in-laws' betrayal replayed in her mind, how Eliza had sneered, how Jacob's brother refused to meet her eyes as they drove off. The rejection stung, a wound deeper than grief, making her question her worth. Was she too weak to save her children? One night, under a starless sky, she broke, tears streaming as Emma slept fitfully against her chest. Thomas, wise beyond his years, touched her hand. "Papa said you're the strongest, Mama. Don't give up." His words, small but fierce, rekindled a spark in her. She vowed to fight on, for them. On the 4th day, the third challenge loomed: danger. A shadow moved on the horizon, and Marianne's heart leapt. Help, perhaps? But as the figure neared, she saw a lone warrior, tall and broad, astride a painted horse. His Cheyenne garb, beaded leather, feathers in his dark hair, marked him as one of the people settlers feared, whispered about in tales of raids and vengeance. Panic seized her. She pushed the children behind her, her voice a shaky plea, "Please, don't hurt us." The warrior, whose name she'd later learn was Thaswank, or Swift Bear, dismounted, his dark eyes studying them. He saw Emma's pale face, Thomas's trembling grip on his stick, and Marianne's defiant, terrified stance. Instead of a weapon, he drew a blanket from his saddlebag and held it out, speaking in halting English, "You are lost. I will not harm." Swift Bear became their salvation. He led them to a sheltered ravine, where he built a fire and shared dried meat and water from his pouch. Marianne, wary at first, saw kindness in his quiet actions, how he carved a small horse from wood for Thomas, how he wrapped Emma in the blanket, humming a low, soothing tune. He told them his story. A warrior of the Cheyenne, he'd lost his own family to illness brought by settlers, yet he chose not to hate. "We are all people under the sky," he said, his voice steady. Over days, he guided them toward a trading post, teaching Marianne to find water in hidden springs and to spot edible plants. The children warmed to him, Emma giggling as he lifted her onto his horse, Thomas trailing him like a shadow, learning to track rabbit prints. The journey wasn't easy. A sudden snowstorm tested their endurance, blanketing the prairie in white and forcing them to huddle together for warmth. Swift Bear shielded them, his strength a quiet anchor. Another challenge came when a band of hostile trappers spotted them, shouting threats at the sight of a Cheyenne with a white family. Swift Bear stood firm, his presence commanding, and Marianne, heart-pounding, spoke up, "He's saving us. Leave us be." Her courage, newfound in fears, turned them away. Through it all, trust grew. Marianne saw in Swift Bear a mirror of Jacob's selflessness, and he, in her, a resilience that echoed his own people's spirit. At last, they reached the trading post, a rough cluster of cabins buzzing with life. Swift Bear negotiated with a kind fur trader, securing Marianne a small plot of land and supplies to start anew. As he prepared to leave, Emma clung to his leg, tears in her eyes, and Thomas offered him the carved horse, a silent thank you. Marianne, her voice thick with emotion, said, "You gave us more than survival, Swift Bear. You gave us hope." He nodded, a rare smile breaking through. "You are strong, Marianne. Build your home. Live for them." With that, he rode off, a lone figure against the sunrise, leaving them with a future. Marianne and her children settled, planting seeds and raising a cabin, their hands blistered but their hearts full. The scars of abandonment lingered, but so did the lesson of Swift Bear's kindness, a bridge between worlds, a proof that humanity could triumph over cruelty. Years later, as Emma and Thomas grew tall and strong, Marianne would tell their story by the fire, her voice steady with pride. "We were lost," she'd say, "but a warrior showed us the way. Never forget, even in the darkest cold, one good heart can light the path." And so, they lived, not just surviving, but thriving, carrying forward a message of resilience, trust, and the power of compassion to heal even the deepest wounds. The prairie, once a place of despair, became their home, a testament to a mother's love, a warrior's grace, and the unyielding hope that binds us all.